What's up, horror fans? Happy New Year! It is Pete from the Lassercast, and I'm here with my good friend, Dr. Zayas God, Danny Torkel. We are here to talk about Stranger Things, Season 5, Episodes 5 through 7. Now, Danny, I kind of want to flip the script today. I want to do something a little different than what we normally do. Our show, we usually just kind of review things.
Topless? Oh no! Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. Bring out the guns, man. Let me see those pecs. But what I was gonna say was I want to do a lot of fantasy booking today because we can still talk about how we feel about these 3 episodes, but the finale is dropping tonight. So let's talk about what we think is going to happen in the finale. So right off the bat, probably the main thing that people are all speculating about, thinking about is who's going to die. I have an answer. I want to hear your answer.
I think I said this to you when we covered the first 4 episodes, and and I know that there has been leaked info about who potentially. I'm sticking with my theory until tonight, and I told you I am going to be my New Year's Eve is literally Stranger Things themed. Charlotte, Athena, and I are going to the Regal Theater by my house that I used to work at when I was 16 years old. And we are going at 8 o'clock to see the finale in theaters. I think it's like an hour and a half episode with like a 40-minute epilogue is what I thought it was a 2.5 hour episode. I think it's like an hour and a half plus 40 minutes of like what comes next kind of thing.
Okay. Okay.
I don't think any of the core cast is dying.
Mm-hmm.
I have been on this for a while.
Yeah.
I just don't think the core 4 boys from the beginning of season 1,
Yeah.
Dustin, Mike, Lucas, and Will, I don't think they're dying. I think they've now set up this idea that Elle has to die in order to kill Vecna, you know,
Yeah.
with Callie telling her like this is the way it's always have to been, and this is the way it's always had to be, and I'm like, yeah, that makes you think Elle's gonna die. I don't think they're gonna kill Elle. I don't think they're going to kill those 5. And then I'm like looking out at like, okay, who are the other characters who are part of like the core? Because the characters who have died on Stranger Things over the years have never been like the real core characters. They've been like fun characters who've joined the cast and then they don't make it. Barb, Bob, Alexi, you have all
Billy.
these Billy. I feel like if Max was gonna die, they had a great chance to do that. They had 2 great chances to do that. If
Yeah.
Hopper was going to die, they had multiple chances to do that. And let me tell you, if Hopper ends up dying, it will have no impact
Right.
after they like you can't tease somebody dying so many times and
Right.
then kill them off and expect to have an emotional response. So I really hope, especially they even did it again this season, where he's gonna strap himself up with bombs and kill like, okay, Hopper, just live. Just live. Like I sadly I don't care about that character anymore because the show is kind of they've overdone it with the he's dead, he's going to die stuff.
Right.
So now I'm looking at like the extras in the cast and I'm like, okay, can Jonathan die? Well, Jonathan and Nancy just had their like epic breakup, always in love breakup moment. Will you not marry me? Could they both die? Possibly. Um, Steve and Dustin had their like moment of reunion. I don't think they would do that to Dustin again. I don't think they would set up for him to lose his other best friend in the world after making that such a big point of the last season, the last couple of episodes. Does Joyce die? And at this point, does anybody care? Again, sorry to Winona Ryder. Like, does she? I don't think that would be a momentous death. This is what usually happens. We start our recording. You ask me a question. I ramble on for 4 minutes, and then I realize I've been rambling for 4 minutes. My answer to your question is, I don't think any of the core characters are dying. Your definition of core characters might be a little bit different than mine, but I really don't think any of the characters that we have been following closely for 5 years are going to die. Now, I could be proven wrong, and we'll find out later tonight.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my answer.
Okay. I have a very different answer. I actually think that pretty much what's that?
I thought you were going to say they're all going to die.
Danny, that is what I'm going to say, actually. I think, here's the thing. I think that we're actually going to have a very disappointing ending, but it's still going to be enjoyable, and we're going to feel good by the end of it and like the show. But I think that this is what's going to happen. In these episodes that we just watched, they established that the Upside Down is essentially a bridge between this like Dimension X, that's what they're calling it, and the real world. And what I think is going to happen is, I think that a good chunk of this episode is going to be like Vecna coming into the regular world and just like slaughtering a lot of the main characters. Like, it's going to be like Thanos showing up at the end of Infinity War, just like mowing through people. And I think Will's going to try to stop him. Eleven's going to try to stop him. There'll be these great heroic epic moments. But I think ultimately what's going to happen is 11 and Kali are going to destroy the Upside Down. And they've talked about time travel and stuff. I think what's essentially going to happen is the Upside Down is going to get destroyed, and it's going to reverse everything that's happened with Vecna and Dimension X. And we're going to see this epilogue where it's all the characters' lives as if the show didn't happen. That's what I think is going to happen in this show.
So you think they're going to, by destroying the Upside Down and by like breaking that bridge, that they're going to almost erase the entire show?
Correct. I think we're going to get an 11.
So we're going to get a Dick Van Dyke Show ending? Not a Dick Van Dyke Show. The one with Bob Newhart. The Bob Newhart where he wakes up and the whole thing was a dream, kind of.
Yeah.
But then there would be no 11 then, right? Or
we're going to get dicked pretty bad, man, and we're going to feel it in our new hearts. But like, what's going to happen is 11 will exist, but it's going to be this girl named Jane who's raised by her mom. That's what I think is going to happen. And I think that like people are going to be upset. Like, here's the thing, Danny, my whole like TikTok feed, like my Instagram feed, it's just been Stranger Things theories. Did you notice that when you were talking about all these people that died, did you notice that like pretty much all of them, their names started with a
B? Yeah.
Right. And they're actually, do you remember that guy in the diner in the first season that kind of takes in 11 for like an episode and then he gets killed? His name starts with a B too. So there's him and Barb, you know? And so like, I don't know if there's anyone in the cast right now whose name starts with a B, but like, I think that they're going to kill off major characters, and we're all going to be collectively, you in the theater, me at home, we're going to be like, you know, like, I can't believe they died. But then it's just going to be undone, man. That's my theory.
I feel like, see, the thing with Infinity War, and I'm talking to somebody who, like me, probably grew up reading the Infinity Gauntlet comic and envisioning, like, if they ever made a movie about this, it would be the greatest thing that ever happened. And it turned out it kind of was.
Yes.
I know people love to shit on the MCU, and people have been shitting on the Doomsday trailers. You can retcon as much as you want about the MCU. Nobody can deny that Infinity War and Endgame were effectively perfect when they came out. And if you grew up like we did reading the Infinity Gauntlet comic, that was like a moment that you waited for your whole life. Like, I cannot wait for Thanos to kill everyone. And
Yeah.
that collective gasp in the movie theater back in, what was it, 2018 Infinity War? It was
28. Yeah.
I remember sitting there with Brandon, and we sat there, and as more and more of our favorite characters dusted out, we, like the crowd, when Black Panther dusts out, that is one of the loudest gasps of terror I've ever heard in a movie theater.
Yeah.
And I can see that happening tonight. Like a moment like where, Mike, Lucas, Dustin, Hopper, everybody's getting, Vecna'd. And, but the thing is, and again, just to bring it back to Infinity War for a second, we read the Infinity Gauntlet comic. We know that, yes, something is going to happen over the next 2 issues or the next movie that is going to undo all of this.
Right.
I don't like the idea of waiting until the last episode, the last 90 minutes to 2 hours, and killing everybody just to bring them back in that, because you don't give the audience a chance to have a year, a literal 1 year of going home and being like, well, how are they going to bring Black Panther back? How are they going to bring Spider-Man back? I cried when Spider-Man died. How are they going to bring Spider-Man back? Like, we need that as an audience. We need that time to process the deaths of characters that we have followed for literal years, almost a decade at this point. And I don't think 90 minutes is enough time for that. And so while I think you have a great idea I think your idea would have been great if all of those characters that you just mentioned got killed over the last 3 episodes. The 3 episodes that we actually came on to talk about, that we've actually skipped right over to talk about what we think is going to happen in the finale. Because here is the major criticism that I have heard and that I have read about these last 3 episodes, is that they were filler and that not much happened to set up this grand finale.
Right.
And that, nobody of importance died. Nope, nobody died at all. And now we're heading to that last episode and we're asking, well, there's only 1 episode left. Who's going to die? I love your idea if your idea was the storyline of the last season.
Right.
When you were talking, I had this idea of there's that epic shot of them in the van going into the Upside Down, where Nancy Rambo is just popping out. I love that 25 in character 25-year-old Nancy, who was a newspaper reporter, is now just a good she's basically Rambo. She's just murdering soldiers with machine guns. Hopper's nice shot. Yeah, we just kill people now. All good. And I like the idea of everyone who got in that van.
Yeah.
So I would have to actually go back and look at who exactly is in that van.
Right.
Everyone in that van realizing once they're in the Upside Down, there's no way out.
Sure.
It is up to us to close that bridge or break that bridge to separate the Upside Down from Hawkins once and for all. And they do a collective Bruce Willis and Armageddon, where and so now I'm trying to think, well, who wasn't in the van? Max is not in the van because she's in a wheelchair. So does Lucas stay with her? Or did Lucas get in the, because then I'm thinking who are the characters that didn't get in the van and they are left to process the ending of everything, while everyone else, there was just like, once they went into that upside down, once they went through that gate, there was no coming back.
Right.
Although I still think somehow Holly's going to get saved. I think the whole point of this season is to save Holly. So
Yeah.
I feel like maybe, Nancy and Mike collectively saving their younger sister somehow, uh, maybe sacrificing themselves for their younger sister
Yeah.
would make sense. I don't know. It's there's a lot of ways that it could go. Like I feel like that's a
Yeah.
cop out answer, but like it is really funny that like I'm like I don't think anybody's gonna die, and you're like I think they're all going to die, and now we're
Yeah.
like kind of
Yeah.
in the middle trying to work out like what. I don't think either one of us is gonna be right. So where can we like take a little bit of the nobody and a little bit of the everybody and find like a happy middle?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, probably what will happen then is that there will be deaths. Most will be characters that are not like the main characters, but then there'll be maybe be like one or two main characters, and that's the shocking part. It's like, oh, okay, wasn't expecting that one. But what I wanted to say though, Danny, is I led with this. I led with who's gonna die. That was my question. And I feel like when it comes to comic book movies and Star Wars movies and this show and other shows, it's always this talk of who's gonna die, who's gonna die, as if like the death is the most exciting part. The death is, the thing that we're wondering about, right? And I think that goes along with this Patrick H. Willems video that was on YouTube recently, where he was talking about franchises ending. Like, essentially, this franchise is going to end for now. Like, this story is going to be done now. There'll probably be spin-offs and there'll be some kind of weird prequel or something, right? But this is essentially coming to a close. And Willems was saying that we need franchises to end. We need stories to end because it reminds us of our own existence and the finality of our own lives, right? And so I think that like they shouldn't do the thing that I'm saying they're going to do, even though I think they're going to do it. I like because it essentially undoes their story. Now you brought up this one thing, and this is where I want to take the conversation next. I want to talk about the idea of this being filler, right? Because when I watched these episodes, the common thing I had with people I talked about this show with, they were like, "Oh, the first 4 episodes were a lot better," and then these episodes. And then people did say they felt like filler. And my one friend who he's still on season 4, he's kind of like, "Oh man, it feels like there's so much filler on this show." We're trying to get, but it's like, what is filler? Like, I look at that scene with Nancy and Jonathan, and they're in this like fucking cum dripping office together, right? And I'm like, okay, like this feels like filler, where they're just talking about their relationship and how they don't care about each other anymore, or they've lost that love and feeling. And I feel like this is filler, but it's like it's a pretty emotional thing for those characters. Like they're
Yeah.
sitting there going like, we feel like we're supposed to be married to each other, we're supposed to be together, but maybe we're just trauma bonding and we're really not meant for each other. Like that's not really filler. That's someone like getting out of a potential marriage that wasn't going to be right for them. So it's like I think that people, I mean, maybe we've always been doing this our whole lives too, but we associate like action with the non-filler, and filler is like the quiet moments in between. But like one of my favorite fucking things of the whole last batch of episodes was when Uma Thurman's fucking daughter, what's
Oh my, Robin.
Robin. Yeah, Robin is talking to Will, and they're talking about like when she had a crush on a girl, and that girl was straight. Like that was one of the best parts of that last set of episodes. So
I
it's
think
like,
it's funny. I think you bring up an interesting point because I think that our society, our culture, uh, is so in tuned to if we have to listen to people talk, we just assume it's boring filler stuff.
exactly.
My favorite writer directors growing up were Tarantino and Kevin Smith. And if there's one thing that Quentin Tarantino and Kevin Smith have in common. I sound like such a dude bro right now that those were, but I mean, I grew up, 1994 was a very pivotal year for me. Fucking Clerks and Pulp Fiction came out.
Yeah.
Those two guys execute dialogue better than almost anybody in Hollywood, whether you like their dialogue or not. And when you go into, and I've had this conversation with people, I just saw Kill Bill, the whole bloody affair. And for 20 years, people have told me Kill Bill Volume 1 is better than Kill Bill Volume 2. And their reasoning is always the same. So much fucking awesome action in that first move, in that first one, and then the second one is so slow and all they fucking do is talk. And I'm like, it's Tarantino. Like,
Right.
yeah. Like that,
Right.
like the best moment in the entire Kill Bill movie, the whole bloody affair, is probably Bill's Superman analogy at the end, which
Yeah.
is like where you've waited for her to kill Bill the entire movie. You're expecting this long, drawn out fight, and the fight is 10 seconds long after a incredibly long moment of dialogue. And it for me it works perfectly because it's so fitting of those two characters.
Right.
And while I will say I felt like the Duffers went a little high, a little hard on the long monologues over episodes 5, 6, and 7,
Yeah.
all of them I thought were really well done, really emotional, and I thought they were needed. Like one of the storylines of the last two seasons, really of the entire show, was Nancy being, Steve's girlfriend, leaving, breaking up with him and falling for Jonathan. Her
Right.
and Jonathan's entire relationship, Jonathan moving to California, becoming a stoner, and then them having to deal with now being back together after she realized how awesome it was to kind of be her own independent badass woman.
Right.
So this was did it go a little bit long for me? Yes. Did I really think that they were great in that moment? I thought Natalia Dyer is one of the highlights of I think she's going to have a fucking amazing career post Stranger Things. Like, she's a character that could have been an absolute nothing on this show, and she has elevated that character, and her performances have been
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I thought Charlie Heaton did a great job as well. I thought the moment in so here's how Charlotte and I watched this. We came home from Christmas. Um, my Roku in my living room was not updating fast enough. So she went in her room and watched episode 5 on her phone. I finally got it on the TV at like 8:15.
Okay.
She came in, we watched episode 6 together, and I was like, all right, as soon as this episode's over, I'm going to bed and I'll watch the last episode tomorrow.
Okay.
And episode 6 ends with like 10 minutes of Max and Holly in the Upside Down.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, and they're running, and I'm like, oh my God, just fucking move, run, what are you doing?
Right.
And the episode ends, and I look at Charlotte, I'm like, well, now we have to watch the last episode. And
Right.
we watched episode 7 right away.
Right.
But like that moment, I thought like all the Max and Holly stuff was so fucking good. And Sadie Sink is already a big star. Like
Right.
she was in The Whale with Brendan Fraser, which was an Oscar-winning film. She's been in a bunch of other movies. Charlotte and I got to see her on Broadway in a lead role. Charlotte met her and just cried. It was amazing. And she's going to be another like monster star, absolute big time actress. And I thought she's been unbelievable in this. And I think the little girl who plays Holly is so fucking good on this show. Like, I think she's going to be like a breakout star. And so the dialogue moments, to your, again, rambling on, but like to your point about like what is filler? Filler, I think for most people who have short attention spans, characters talking is filler.
Right, right, right,
which
right,
is
right,
disappointing. Which
right,
is really disappointing when you're supposed to care about the characters.
right,
You want like the coming out scene was necessary, and
right.
it is hilarious to me how some people are acting like this was a completely out of nowhere woke thing that hasn't been present since literally the first season. Uh,
Right.
but okay. But again, that was necessary. That was a necessary moment. I don't know if I have members of my family who are openly gay, and I I don't know if it needed to be like, hey, all 12 of you come in the room. I thought it should have been a more intimate moment
Right.
with
Agreed.
maybe with Joyce, Jonathan, Mike. I think like it could have been a more intimate moment.
Yeah.
I don't think it needed to be, hey, every character in the cast.
Yeah.
Uh,
Come
come,
on,
come,
Carly.
come,
And,
yeah,
you
come
know,
sit with me for a minute.
yeah.
Uh, but I thought like that whole moment was a necessary moment. I think for me, filler is when it's not necessarily the characters talking, it's the characters kind of r- doing things like setting up for what they're planning on doing.
Right. Right.
And
Which, right.
I feel like these last 3 episodes, they did a lot of setting up for the finale without
Right.
doing a lot of things.
Right. Right. Really good point. Really good point. I think that that's kind of one of the things that they do on the show. And I think maybe in general, in the genre stuff that we watch, they try to do this as well, where it's like there'll be a task that you have to do to set up the action that will actually affect the
You,
villain, right? Like, oh, we
after
have to.
5 years, of recording with you, I feel like, to use a line from Stranger Things, I feel like we've acquired a hive mind because, like, you literally just said what was in my head. Go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to just say though that there's like some kind of ancillary task where it's like we got to go to the tower and flip this switch so that we can go do this to Vecna. But it's like that's not the main action. It's like the setup. It's the precursor. And then usually during that activity, that's when you have some kind of character development. Like there's a discussion between two characters where there's some character development. That's kind of like part of the situation. That might just be in general with genre stuff, you know.
The Star
But
Wars sequels. The Star Wars sequels.
well,
You know
trilogy,
what?
yeah.
You know what you're describing there? You're describing when movies become video games. When there is in order to get to the next level, you first need to go on a side quest off the map, achieve this, get the, what was the line in Last Jedi? We have to get the master, uh,
Oh, yeah, like
whoever
code
Benicio
breaker.
del Toro was, right?
Right, right, right,
That whole scene, and that led to like that whole Casino Planet scene and like everybody in retrospect was like, what the fuck was that?
right,
Uh,
right,
and there's so many moments in those Star Wars sequel trilogies where the main characters are like, okay, we know exactly what we need to do, but first we need to do this and we need to acquire this
right,
object. Once we get
right,
this object, we can then go on our main quest. And yes, that is what was in my mind when you said it. That is fucking filler. That is, and I think you're right. I think that is a trope of genre work, maybe sci-fi, maybe comic book style.
yeah,
But I think the thing is, in comic books, it works because comic books are issue by issue by issue. So
right,
you can't end the story in comic book, in the Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes 13, you're not going to end the story in book 13. So you need something to carry over to the next bunch of issues.
right,
When you're watching it as a movie or as a show with limited episodes, that takes me almost immediately out of the the plot. I felt
Right.
like that in these last 3 episodes when, yeah, you were talking about like, get the Demogorgon and we'll bring it up to the tower and then we'll set it up. We'll shoot it full of electricity, and this will initiate the hive mind, and this will
Right.
send Will, and Will will be able, and 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 like the thing with Holly, right? So you have that great moment at the end of episode 6 where her and Max are together. They have the whole episode. They've been together. They're working their way through this maze. They get to the end. They see the places where they have to go. They're running. They're running. It's, oh my god! I can't wait till the next episode. And then it's like Max wakes up, and you're like, oh my god, she's back. Oh my god! And then you just find out that, oh, Vecna just grabbed Holly and put her right back where she was. And you're
Right.
like,
Right.
oh, so okay, Max is out, but for Holly, that all meant nothing. And
Right.
they were, and it, while I was watching it, I never felt like this is filler, this is boring, I don't like it. Charlotte and I really enjoyed those last 3 episodes, but
Yeah.
there is always a point where you're in the moment, you're watching something,
Right.
and then a day later, 2 days later, a week later, you start to talk about it and reflect on it with other people, and you're like, oh yeah, oh okay,
Right.
yeah. And like the impact, like, it's like all of the serotonin is gone. All the
Right.
like the high that you were on is now gone, and now you're a rational person thinking about it, and you're like, oh yeah, that was okay. Like it wasn't the greatest thing. Like, oh, all right.
But see, like that's the problem that they were going to have by splitting up this season into 3 different parts, right? Because the part that a writer struggles with and the part that the audience struggles with is the middle. Because when you watch something like if you watch Endgame and Infinity War together, which I actually just watched Endgame last night again. It's funny you're talking about it. Like you watch the beginning of Infinity War, it's like a punch in the face because it's like Thor's people are already taken out in the beginning. It's brutal. Loki gets killed. Sorry, spoilers for the movie that everyone's seen. And there's an attack on New York. Real exciting stuff, right? Then you get to the middle, and luckily they're able to keep that suspense throughout the whole movie. Infinity War and Endgame are a good metaphor to use when talking about this show because there's so many fucking characters, right? When you watch, I think it's the 6th episode of this season, there's this one part where 11 lifts up one of the metal grates and they go into the upside down and they got the fucking teacher there. There's one part where like all the characters are just standing in a line while she lifts up the grates. And I'm like, holy shit, look how many fucking characters there are. There's like 12 characters there. Now, here's the thing. If they are master storytellers, if they know what they're doing, then they can keep the tension and the danger going for certain characters while other characters might not be in immediate danger. But when you're telling a story, a lot of times in genre storytelling, you kind of have like the assault by the bad guy, the horrible thing at the beginning, and it's really tense and it bothers you. Then the middle is sort of like recovering and preparing, and then the end is like the final battle, and who's going to die, what's going to happen. There's that tension in the beginning and there's a tension in the end. And if you take Infinity War and Endgame, it's like, well, obviously the middle part is like where you have the snap and you have the battle in Wakanda and all that kind of stuff. That's super fucking tense, but that's also the end of that movie. With these 3 sets of episodes, this is essentially just like the prep. This is the bridge part to get to the end part. And I think that that's why people were like dissatisfied with these 3 episodes. I enjoyed them, but I certainly liked the first 4 way better because they were so tense, the first 4 episodes. Like leading right up to like Vecna slaughtering a bunch of soldiers and Will having a sort of, superhero moment where he finally gets his powers and knows what he's going to do. And now I'm sure we're going to have tons of moments like that in this finale,
Yeah.
But
My sister also brought up the idea that like the show, those last 3 episodes also dropped a whole bunch of more information and more questions that she doesn't think, and I agree with her, the show can possibly give satisfactory answers to in one episode. I thought the show did a really good job of showing Henry of like opening up this idea of Henry's backstory. Like
Right.
there's that moment early in like the first 4 episodes where Max finds like the hole in the cave that goes into like Henry being in high school, and there's Steve's dad and young Joyce, and you're like, oh, are we gonna explore this? No. Okay, that was just a blip. And then we see that scene later on where there's this briefcase, Pulp Fiction style, uh, and Henry murders this guy and takes the briefcase, and you're like, ooh, like what is this about? We don't know. And it's like, so if we're going to get more about Henry's backstory, it's gonna
Yeah.
be like, here you go. Here's like a 6 minute flashback scene out of the 90 plus minutes of the finale
Right.
dedicated to this. Take it all in because that's all you're getting. And I feel like they could have done a lot more to explore that.
Right. Well,
Um,
but that's the problem with genre storytelling too, and the world that we live in right now, right? Because there is also the play that's on Broadway, which is called like Stranger Things: The First Shadow, and it is literally the story of Henry. Like it's like a Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, but inverted, where
yeah.
it's like it's like the Half Blood Prince, like Voldemort's story, and it's on Broadway. And like you always talk about having to do homework for these shows and stuff, and I feel like your ultimate homework, assignment would be to go see this play. Which,
I
okay, well, I was going to just say one thing. Like the thing that I've extrapolated from what people have said about this play is that there was some guy that went on an expedition that like led his ship into Dimension X, and that's what led our government into trying to research Dimension X. The very first person to ever go to Dimension X or be connected to it was Henry, and it has something to do with that tunnel and finding that guy that he murders in the tunnel. And then he has his blood was changed because of that experience, and then his blood is what was used to make like Eleven and Kali. So one theory that's being floated around is that Vecna might actually be more of a sympathetic character, and he might be trying to like undo all of this and separate the Dimension X from Earth. And so that leads more to my theory of that it's just going to undo everything going all the way back to Henry. That's just my theory.
well, isn't part of didn't they say that Vecna's plan is to like take the children and like restart the world in the other dimension and like
Right.
completely cut Earth off? And I don't know, maybe they break the bridge and Henry flies away into outer space on that other dimension. But like, there's a difference between like a homework assignment of like, oh, everybody has Disney Plus, go watch 8 episodes, versus, oh, go pay $80 to go watch a Broadway show. Like,
Right. For
that's a
one thing.
different level of like snobbery and homework that I can't
Yeah.
subscribe to. Like, somebody at work was like, oh, why don't you just go see the show? I'm like, why don't you just give me $200 to go get tickets to it? Like go,
Right.
yeah. Well, and oh, by the way, I'll fit it in somehow between Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, uh, when I have plans and I'm on a vacation where like I'm doing all this, Christmas stuff and other holiday stuff. Like it's just if this show ends and there are things that we as the general audience are not privy to because there's a Broadway show out there, I think that's incredibly obnoxious. Um, and I really hope that that's not the case. I feel like that show should be like, and I've heard great things about it. But I
Yeah.
feel like that show should be like, oh, uh, you know what they should have done? Um, you know how like Disney Plus, you can go on Disney Plus right now and watch Hamilton, a
Right.
live, a live full cast, including like the original cast of Hamilton. You can watch it for 2.5 hours right now on Disney Plus.
Right.
That's what the Duffer Brothers should have fucking done. They should have made a deal. Netflix should have made a deal with I'm sure they already did because it's a Netflix property that the Duffer Brothers wrote.
Right.
For Broadway to do that show, they should have put however long that show is, probably 90 minutes to 2 hours, they should have put that show on Netflix live from maybe from Christmas to here. That from on Christmas they upload 3 episodes, and then like they could even call it like a Christmas gift from the Duffers. Stranger Things. What is it? I don't even know what the show's called.
I think it's called The First Shadow.
The first Stranger Things, The First Shadow on Broadway, live on Netflix. And
Right.
we and Charlotte and everyone who's a fan, fans of Stranger Things who live in like Podunk, Iowa,
Yes.
they could watch and learn more about Henry's backstory, and that can take us into the finale.
Right.
It's as I'm saying that out loud, I think it's shocking they didn't do that.
Agreed.
I can't, but like, because it's been done before. Like they
Right.
have done. PBS used to do like tune in at 8 o'clock, and you're gonna see like the original cast recording of Les Mis. It's like so they could obviously do it.
Right.
It just seems very strange to me that they have. And I've seen Harry Potter and the Cursed Child actually twice, and it's fantastic. But it takes place after
Right.
the books. It's
Right.
not like I didn't get to see Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, so I don't understand Deathly Hallows. No, like it's years later. It's actually all the main characters' kids.
Right. Right. No, I know. It makes a lot of sense. I don't know why they didn't do it. Who knows how much of that play, the story from that play, is going to be in this last episode. It's kind of crazy that we're going to be watching it tonight. You're going to be in the theater watching it tonight. Like as we kind of wrap this up, as we kind of talk about the end of this show, I just kind of want to talk about like what we've enjoyed from this show and what more there might be to it than people give it credit for. Like, I think that one thing that like people seem to be neglecting and not paying attention to is that Mind Flayer creature is such a big deal on this show. And I think that like everyone thinks Vecna because of the last season, but my dad's phone called me. There we go. But like that Mind Flayer is actually, I think, the big bad of the show. I think that Vecna is essentially like his general. Like one thing that like I don't see people talking about and speculating about is how like when Will was like the spy originally for Vecna, Joyce stabs him with like a hot poker, and this black shit comes flying out of his mouth, kind of like the demons from Supernatural, right? And then that black shit then goes into Billy, and then Billy's able to make all those people like go under his control, and then they all kind of like turn into these like gloppy, this like mess on the floor, and then they become like a little mini Mind Flayer in season 3, right? I think that there's something to that black smoke where it's like the stuff from Dimension X can't be tangible in our world, so they have to like possess someone like they do in Supernatural. And I think like one other thing I want to mention too is just like the imagery of like all these kids with the fucking like tubes on their mouths as they're getting fed this shit by Vecna. It's like I get why they're doing that, but it's like really kind of upsetting and disturbing to watch. And that's one thing I also wanted to mention too is like this show is heavily inspired by like Alien and Aliens, and there's tons of like 80s movies where there's like some kind of alien presence in a small town, and this kind of has that kind of vibe. So it makes sense, but I think that like people don't talk about this that much, that black smoke. even when the fucking Demogorgon dies in that last episode or 2 episodes ago, like black shit comes out of that too. You
I
know?
think
So,
I think part of the reason people aren't talking about it is because, and again, this is part of the issue with the Netflix model, is the Mind Flayer is so long ago now. It's the whole out of sight, out of mind thing. You know, like Vecna has been the villain for the last 2 seasons, and yeah, it's like Vecna, and then it's like, oh yeah, the Mind Flayer. Which season was that? Was that 2 or 3? Was that the one in the mall? And it's like, at this point, I'm like, that was 4 or 5 years ago,
at
maybe
least.
longer. And you're
Yes.
like, and so you might be right, but I feel like if an hour into this episode tonight, we find out that the Mind Flayer is the big bad and that Vecna is a sympathetic villain controlled by the Mind Flayer, I think tomorrow there will be a lot of disappointed people. I think
Yeah.
because a lot of people will be like, wait, the Mind Flayer? I
Yeah.
thought, because like part of me is like thinking, like, again, it's like, how many years ago was that? Didn't they kill the Mind Flayer? No, they just sent it back. I like so and like I remember the part where like Henry gets sent into like that void in the middle where he's like half scarred from his battle with 11 and he looks uh like Two-Face at the end of Dark Knight, and you see the Mind Flayer in the background and you're like, oh, and it's like he follows in, and so like it does kind of make sense, but at the same time I'm like, it does feel so long ago in the minds of a Stranger Things viewer that I feel like that I don't know how that would be taken as a general audience if that is like the big reveal that we get.
Dude, I think, like, no joke, I think everything that I've speculated is what's going to happen tonight. Like, we should almost take bets. Like, we should make this like
Pete
Vegas style.
Stradamus?
Pete Stradamus, that's my next set of TikTok videos. Pete Stradamus predicts. Pete on the streets. I don't know, man. That might be a good way to kind of wrap this all up because we still got to do our Castle Rock recording. But I mean, is there anything else you want to say about this batch of episodes?
Uh, Not particularly. I mean, I enjoyed them while they were on. I do understand the criticisms of them. I think the criticisms are a little harsh because I think we really I think our main talking point today about filler is I don't want to say we're right, everybody else is wrong, but I do think that there is a big part of modern society with our, attention deficit, collective attention deficit disorder, that takes any amount of long dialogue scenes as, oh, get to the action. I think there is a lot of that. And
Yeah,
I think that, and I will say, the Duffers went hard on the long dialogue scenes. There was at least one really long dialogue scene in each of these 3 episodes. We hit the three big ones, Nancy and Jonathan in the, as you called it, the drip and cum room. Then we had the uh Holly and Max in the upside down, or in the dimension, the middle dimension, like just fucking run. Like the just fucking run moment, as I called it. Charlotte and I are like literally sitting there, like, go. Um, and then yeah, the coming out scene where it went on for a while. But like I felt all 3 of those moments were necessary. Did they need to go on as long as as they did? Probably not. But I feel like a lot of people took those 3 scenes and were like, "Oh my god, like this is so boring. Why isn't anything happening? Why aren't any characters dying? Why isn't there any action?"
right.
And yeah, I thought like that. As I was watching them, I was enjoying them. I understand the complaints, but I look, we're heading to a finale of a beloved decade-long piece of entertainment. People are going to be upset. People are going to love it. People are going to hate it. People are going to cry. People are going to cheer. Uh, I just hope that there's a level of satisfaction at the end of this. Like
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be the greatest finale ever. I think I think the Duffers kind of pigeonholed themselves into a position where there's just not enough time to give the satisfactory conclusion that I think many of us want.
Right.
But I'm also confident in them that love or hate the show. I think it's for the most part been highly entertaining for 5 years, for 5 seasons, much longer
Right.
than 5 years.
Right.
Uh, and I, I don't want any more spin-offs. I'd like this to be the end. I'd like this to be the finale.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good way to bring it all to a close, man. Good job. So, you know what comes next then? What else do we got going on our channel?
We are going to be recording very soon. We finished it. Welcome to Derry, which was on HBO Max. You can watch all of our reviews of that series on the channel. And keeping up with the Stephen King, which is a huge influence in Stranger Things, obviously. Netflix just put the 2 seasons of Castle Rock on. Castle Rock aired between 2018 and 2019, even though it looks and feels like it came out in 2008 and 9. And we are going to be covering the 2 seasons of that show, 20 episodes in total. We're going to do 4 reviews, 5 episodes at a time. And other than that, you could always come back. The more horror movies I watch at the end of the year, I've been doing some YouTube shorts. I saw the new Anaconda, which is absolutely not a horror movie, but it's horror adjacent enough that I put up a short review on the channel. If you are looking for complete turn your brain off entertainment for 95 minutes, it is a enjoyable experience. So yeah, you can check out my review of that and several other horror movies for 45 to 60 seconds at a time on the channel.
Not bad, man. Yeah, guys, Danny's constantly popping videos out, and I also put my Pete on the Street videos where I ask you guys questions. Sometimes you guys have some awesome answers too. I always love responses to those. Put those on TikTok too. I'm PR March 29 on TikTok. I think that's my handle. I don't remember. But yeah, guys, make sure you come back after you watch the finale of Stranger Things to watch our review. Come back to our cum soaking room so we can stick our tubes in your mouths and feed you guys our content.